Welcome back, everybody. Let's get after it.
There's 28-day moon cycles, and there's 13 per year. So when you think of your calendar and you have 12 months, where is the missing month? Because you have 13 moon cycles per year, so where is the missing month? It's something we don't think about. You have 13 28-day moon cycles, but you only have 12 months in a year. Where is the off month? And this is why when I say connecting to the moon energy, you can see that the same cycle happens every single time. So where is that month that we're missing? And then you start to say, well, what season are we actually in then? Because if we're always missing basically a month all the time, then that would mean our timeline is very incorrect, or our calendar is very incorrect as well. You know, and as somebody just said, we switched to the Gregorian calendar and we messed up all our cycles. Yes, we did. And that's the thing. We don't even know what day or year we are in. This is where it gets crazy. You know, someone could say, well, today's 2023. According to who? Who told you we're in 2023? And then, what month are we actually in? And if you create this confusion, you can then control the people because they start to believe, well, I'm in 2023. Well, what happens if you were in 2023? Like 1023? Then what? You'd really start thinking things different. Because, you know, if you start thinking about the calendar and now everything's thrown off, you'd start there and go, oh my gosh, wait a minute, this is what year we're in? Wait, what month are we in? And then we start going, oh, well, what season am I in? And then who created that up too? Who made up that number? You know, that's the other part. You sit there and go, maybe, what happens if we're in like 5046? You know? And then you sit there and you think you're still driving a car with 20 miles to the gallon in 5046.
Isn't 13 times 28 364? Wouldn't there be a day missing? And what would this change? Because even this guy's attempted explanation of why this is such a big deal doesn't make it sound like a big deal.
The cities of Antarctica do not exist as long as they are not seen. To get through the frequency fence, a whole new world opens up. This past weekend, frequency fence went down in almost all of Antarctica, mainly New Swabia. Believe it, this is Antarctica. Grab your popcorn. Frequency fence down.
All right. So I left this one in here because I know there's some internet sleuths out there that can tell me where this video is actually taken from. There's a pretty good land marker there in the center of the image as the camera pans. It shows what looks like a football field with some writing on it. I would imagine that one could figure out using that where this is taken from. But if anyone figures it out, let me know down in the comments because I'm sure that will be pretty easy to debunk.
Element 115 is a super heavy element. We've only just recently synthesized, we only made 4 atoms of it. The craft uses larger quantities of it, 223 gram little triangles of it. But it's a unique element. When it's exposed to radiation, it produces its own gravitational field, its own anti-gravitational field, and it's what's used to lift and propel the craft and create distortions around it. It's an amazing material, and it's certainly nothing that occurs here or naturally.
And it can be weaponized, and that's kind of the issue here. If this story is all true, that can be weaponized.
Absolutely. I mean, we ran all kinds of tests on it, everything from atomic absorption, X-ray fluorescence, and, you know, every kind of test you could possibly imagine, and bombarded it with radiation to see what effects it would have. They call that neutron activation, but it was a stable element, something we had never seen before.
Say what you want about Bob Lazar, the guy could give a master class on how to keep your story straight. I mean, he has not deviated from his story once in 30 plus years. Hey, if you're enjoying this video, I make one just like it every single day. It would be awesome if you'd hit that subscribe button and come back to join me tomorrow.
1958, as you can see. Now, we're going to flip to the Antarctica and see what the Encyclopedia Britannica from 1958, before the Antarctic Treaty, says is there. Now, you won't find this in the new encyclopedias because the government's banned them, but what I want you to notice right here is, notice how it says, the flights proved inland areas to be featureless in character with a dome 13,000 feet high at about latitude 80 degrees south, longitude 90 degrees east. Take a really close look at that. Now I'm going to zoom it in for you. When they returned to New Zealand, these flights proved the inland areas to be features of the character with a dome 13,000 feet high at about latitude 80 degrees south, longitude 90 degrees east. Now, if this doesn't make sense to you, let me show you with an image of what a flat earth map would look like. Now, this is what a latitude 80 degrees south would look like on a flat earth map. As you can see, the dome comes down closer to you over the wall, which would be about 13,000 feet. Now, if you go back out into the center of the earth, or up the North Pole, and try to go up to the firmament with a little bit of calculation, it's going to show that it's about 385,500 feet away. It's really simple, folks. Now, if you're not familiar with any of this at all, and you're just now new to all this, you could say, well, this guy is crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But what you got to ask yourself is, why do all the maps before 1958 show a flat earth with the ice wall around it and a firmament, a dome? And why does the encyclopedia tell you that there's a dome there and it gives you the exact height at the certain latitude and longitude? Well, the reason is because in 1958, that's when all governments and all nations of the world signed the UN treaty to ban all civilians from going to the Antarctica. And NASA came in and erased everything, just like they're erasing everything today. So again, ask yourself, if all this existed before 1958, why doesn't it exist now? How come it all of a sudden was erased and just disappeared out of your history books, out of your encyclopedias, out of your libraries? Wake up, people.
This makes me want to run out and buy the oldest set of encyclopedias that I can find. I wonder what else is in there. This is pretty fascinating. As far as the flat earth stuff goes, I would consider myself a fence sitter. There's just too much information out there that leans one way, and then there's information that leans the other way. It's fascinating, though, some of the stuff that you see come up in this flat earth theory stuff. Some of this stuff's pretty believable. It'll almost push you over the edge.
Devil's Tower. Surrounded all around it is its little baby offspring, mere twigs standing in the shadow of their massive ancestor. For those with open eyes, you can see it all over. But here's a little more signs of the ancient trees from our past.
So really quick, I'm going to show you this, how the trees are fibers, and for some reason this shows the true color. A big chunk of this just fell off. See part of the grain. This is the way the fibers are right here. See? Hold on a second. You see it's nothing but wood. Okay? So we're going to go down over here and I'll show you a little more. Okay? See here. And at an angle. Okay? All this, everything. This whole mountain in a 100-mile radius. Come right over here. You see, this looks just like freshly chopped wood. We peeled a piece off of there. This is what we see. This is the wood. See that? That's just got the moss on it. And all this here, all the way back up in here, I'll show you that in a second. You come right here, and you see, we'll peel a piece off here. It's just wood. It's so crazy. All this. And then you go right over here. See? This is the fresh stuff. This is what we see.
Again, that's super convincing. I think the only thing that would truly convince me on this is if I went there myself and started breaking pieces of that off and saw for real that it was just made out of wood. I'd probably have to break some pieces of mountain off and see if I could build a campfire with it or something.
The fact that this was discovered hiding under a painting during a renovation of a cathedral in Naples says it all. Another sloppy cover-up of our true past at work. I think they tried to cover up giants and dragons, griffins, and a lot of other creatures. Yet they did such a sloppy job, they just ended up calling them mythical creatures. But isn't it odd, the Chinese zodiac has all real creatures but one. And the fact that so many of our cultures, all across our realm, share the same depictions of dragons, much like they do giants and many other creatures. These artists drew exactly what they saw. And you can still find some mud fossil remains. Like here's the Dragon Head cave in Egypt. This world is vastly different than what we've been told it was. And why cover up dragons? It's the same reason why they lied to us about all of our history. Those unaware of their true past and their true origins are all that much easier to control. Perhaps dragons explain some of those melted castles. And just look what our old dictionary said about dragons. Now rare. And even a news story from England. This was just a few short generations ago. As they say, it only takes a few generations to completely erase our knowledge of our true history. And sloppy as it may be, they have succeeded in doing that. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
With all the different civilizations that we have that have paintings and tales of dragons and stuff in their folklore, it's starting to seem more and more like it's not folklore, but written history. I wouldn't say that I'm convinced that dragons were real, but I will say find it more likely that dragons existed at one point than I do that Bigfoot exists now.
In 1535, the Spanish conquistadors came through that area and they found stones with strange animals on them. They sent some back to the King of Spain and said, "What on earth are these animals carved on these rocks?" The king said, "I have no clue." Today they're called the Ica burial stones from Ica, Peru. These stones show dinosaurs on them. The Nazca burial stones from about the time of Christ, plus or minus a few hundred years. Some of them show brain surgery. They find brain surgery instruments, hardened copper, tempered copper instruments for cutting into people's heads, apparently. Quite a few of them, over 500 I believe, show dinosaurs. Why would they have dinosaurs and humans on the same stones? Well, because people lived with dinosaurs. Anyway, there's plenty on that. Here's one from our museum. Shows a dinosaur holding a guy by the head. This one we've got shows what appears to be a guy cutting the head off the dragon because the dragon killed his friend. You can see the friend's body is inside, but his head's missing. This one's hard to see, but he's shoving the spear down the dragon's throat. This one, the dragon's got the guy by the arm, and apparently his spirit is leaving. Some of them show circles on the side. Now that's kind of interesting. Why would they put circles on the side of the dinosaurs? Well, nobody ever found dinosaur skin until about 20 years ago. when fossilized dinosaur skin was found. It's very interesting. The dinosaur skin has circle patterns on it. They had to see a live one to know to put that on the stones, because you couldn't tell that from the bones.
I really like listening to this guy. I think his name is Kent Hovind or something like that. I have noticed several times him bending the truth to try to fit his narrative. But when it comes to stuff like this, where you've got actual photographs and you've got the rocks there as proof and stuff to show, this just lends more credence to the possibility that we were living at the same time as dinosaurs. And we've already got human footprints and dinosaur footprints. To think that we were around at the same time in some shape, form, or fashion just makes sense. Even if it were just Neanderthals living at the same time as dinosaurs, it would make sense that we were around at the same time with as many ancient depictions as we have of them.
In 1997, a man by the name of Otis Eugene Ray emerged onto the digital landscape, boldly proclaiming himself as the wisest man on Earth. He launched a personal website, a peculiar corner of the internet, known as TimeCube. This website served as a platform for Ray's theory of everything, famously referred to as the Time Cube. But what exactly was this Time Cube? Ray's theory, delivered with unapologetic polemics, asserted that all existing disciplines in science were part of a grand conspiracy, their alleged sin. Supposedly they were teaching lines, while omitting Ray's own revelations, the belief that each day comprises not 1, but 4 days, all occurring simultaneously. Otis Eugene Ray didn't shy away from grandeur. He portrayed himself as a godlike entity, possessing superior intelligence. In his view, he held absolute evidence and proof for his time cube beliefs. In fact, he went as far as offering a reward of $10,000 in cash to anyone who could prove him wrong. A bold challenge indeed, but all stories have their end. On March 18, 2015, Otis Eugene Ray passed away at the age of 87. However, his website lives on, leaving behind a passage that reads, "When the sun shines upon Earth, 2 major time points are created on opposite sides of the Earth, known as midday and midnight. Where these 2 major time forces joined, synergy creates 2 new minor time points we recognize as sunrise and sunset." Ray's theory continues, suggesting that these 4 equidistant time points can be considered as time squares, imprinted upon the circle of Earth. In a single rotation of the Earth's sphere, each time corner point rotates through the other 3 corners, creating 16 corners, 96 hours, and 4 simultaneous 24-hour days within a single rotation of Earth. Otis Eugene Ray's time cube remains a perplexing enigma, a testament to the power of human imagination and the boundless depths of the internet.
And if that theory didn't cook your brain, nothing will. Hell, he might be onto something. I don't know. I couldn't wrap my brain around it.
The object was to produce a field of invisibility for the ship. And I might point out in 1940, there were very poor radar systems. The technology also began about 1931 for radar. But we didn't have anything like a really sophisticated radar system in 1940, so they were concerned about ship invisibility. A special crew was chosen. The Eldridge was taken off the drawing board, and the equipment was designed to fit into it with the 2 main generators in the forward hold, number 2 gun turret. And as you saw there, the tests, 2 of them were conducted. The first one, both tests with an experimental crew, specially chosen. First one was 22 July 1943, in which they achieved in radar as well as optical invisibility. It was very successful in terms of the hardware. But they had a problem with personnel, being disoriented, nauseous, totally mentally destabilized, if you will. So when the ship was returned to dockside after an approximate 20-minute test at 1000 hours in the morning, a new crew was assigned. Van Neumann knew he had a very serious problem. Even he had listened to us eventually that there was a problem, and he knew it then. Went to the Navy for an extension on time. The Navy said, "No way, there's a war on. Do what you have to do to make it work, but you have a deadline, drop-dead date, 12 August 1943. If you can't make that date, forget it." We were all working furiously around the clock. Came the date. Everything was ready, we thought, and we went out in the harbor. Actually, my brother and I were very apprehensive. So we were given the radio command, as per the movie, turn the equipment on. For about 70 seconds, to the outside observers, everything appeared to be functioning correctly. Radar invisibility was achieved. There was no true optical invisibility, though there was a great haze of fog, greenish in color. And then after about 70 seconds, the ship disappeared completely. As the movie indicated, on board, there was a great deal of problems. We realized from the outset that something was wrong, seriously wrong. And when everything started to nearly explode around us, we tried to shut the equipment off, found the handles frozen. We could not shut it off. We got zapped. We decided the only way out was outside. And we both simultaneously got the idea, let's jump overboard and jump in the bay and swim ashore. We jumped overboard all right. We did not wind up in the bay. We wound up on shore at Montauk, Long Island, inside the perimeter of a military base at Montauk, which was then known as Fort Hero and was the other terminal of this experiment known as the Phoenix Project, at approximately 2 a.m. in the morning, and a very bright light was shining down on us. We felt this fence in back of us. We didn't know where we were or what had happened. A very, very bright spotlight and this noisy thing overhead, a helicopter. What did we know about helicopters? Sikorsky was still working on them in '43. MPs grabbed us, took us down below into one of the labs, and we were confronted by Dr. Van Neumann, an old man. He says, I am Dr. Van Neumann. We've been expecting you. And he says, you're who? He says, you're a doc. We have been expecting you. I am Dr. Van Neumann. He eventually convinced us of the fact, and of course, looking around there, seeing video displays, terminals, equipment like we had never seen, we knew something was wrong. He told us briefly, we know what has happened. The two experiments have locked up. We've created a huge hole in hyperspace. The Eldridge is in it. You have to go back and smash the equipment and return that ship to its normal place. I said, we can do this here. The Phoenix Project did achieve total control of time and space.
This one I found very fascinating because I've never heard a person of authority, and I use that term loosely. It's a dangerous term, but I've never heard a person of authority speak on this topic. I've only ever read things about it, so I thought it was fascinating and wanted to leave it in here just to get you guys an opportunity to see it as well. I don't really have an opinion on it. It sounds like science fiction. I know our government is messing with some crazy stuff, so to say that they've created some sort of a science fiction type situation is not outside the realm of possibility.
This will clear up all misconceptions about Antarctica. Watch until end. Antarctica is an ice wall containing the oceans of our known world, like the edge of a giant lake. All large bodies of water require containment, otherwise they will disperse. It's basic science. However, just like any other lake, there is always more land encompassing it. This is why all independent exploration is completely off limits, and all permitted explorations are heavily restricted. They don't want anybody leaving this giant tax plantation. That's why they pretend resources are scarce and keep us imprisoned with the Antarctic Treaty. Why else would all the countries who've signed the treaty be fighting each other over resources but agree to protect them in Antarctica? You have to pay a lot to apply for a permit just to visit a restricted, guided, and designated area. The majority of applications get instantly rejected. And the ones that get accepted are already involved in government-funded projects, and the people who work there are kept like prisoners. There's a guy called Jarl Andi who is a Norwegian explorer. He's been there a few times without permission, but has been caught by the military and escorted back every time. He mysteriously lost crew members and his boat one time, and the military will not release the radio conversations between them and Jarl's crew. Anything made of metal will flag up on the radars of Navy patrol units, so exploration would have to be en masse because they can't stop us all. There will be many more stories like Jarl Andi, but most will not have lived to tell the tale, and those that did were probably silenced. I'm going to show you a piece of the 200-foot ice wall that's broken off and drifted out to sea.
You're going to want to see this. Stretching off into the horizon, we have one of the largest tabular icebergs currently on our planet. It just keeps going. Something this big is kind of hard to comprehend even when it's right in front of you, but this speaks to how much fresh, frozen water is down in the Southern Ocean. For anyone wanting some perspective, take a look at the birds that are flying next to this thing. It's probably about 200 feet high, and that's just about 15% of what's sticking out of the water. The rest is down below, like an ice wall, drifting through the ocean, currently heading east toward the South Orkney Islands. Kind of wouldn't believe it if...
Antarctica is one of those that is just never going to be not shrouded in mystery and conspiracy, just simply because they won't let anyone go there and check it out. Or that's enough to prove in the minds of most people that there's something there they're hiding. It's just amazing that we have all these different countries in agreement countries who can't agree on anything are all in agreement that we're to keep all individuals from every country out of Antarctica. Well, guys, that's the end of this video. I'm going to leave it right there and call it done on this one. I hope you enjoyed the clips I put together today. I really enjoyed putting this together. I thought these are some very interesting clips, so I'm glad to be able to share them with so many people. I'm glad to have so many people comment back to me and tell me what their views are on things. I'm really enjoying making these videos, and I feel like I'm building the best community here. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you in the next one. See you tomorrow.